So I think of sense and respond as kind of a more general idea of agility. I first started talking about sense and respond when I first got into the agile world, and it was a way that I used to explain agile to managers. And the idea about around sense and respond is that it's as much, in fact, more of a mindset than it is anything else. And so let me just say a little bit about kind of how I see it, how it derives. Typically, our usual way of approaching life is that it's a predict and plan, that we have this idea that we can predict what's going to happen in the future, and on the basis of that prediction, make a plan. And then as long as we follow that plan, things generally, hopefully, go well. The big word in all of that is hopefully, because oftentimes things don't go so well. So predict and plan is the kind of metaphysical or the philosophical basis for the whole waterfall paradigm, the whole waterfall approach, not just to developing software, but the whole kind of command and control style of organizations that so many of us are used to. The very foundation of all of this is this belief, and it is a belief. It's a kind of superstition, if you will. This belief that we can predict what's going to happen, and on the basis of that prediction, make a plan. So, and we all live in that way of thinking. That's our main go-to place for how we think in our day-to-day life, in our home life, in our work life. If you don't believe that, then think about your next vacation. And to what degree are you planning that vacation? And I don't know about you, but oftentimes when I plan a vacation, I go on the vacation and surprising things happen. And to the degree that I am attached to that plan, to that thing that I predict, I become upset when something strange happens. The hotel room isn't what I expected. The restaurant isn't what I expected. The tour isn't what I expected. In fact, this whole damn city that I'm visiting isn't what I expected. And so that is an example of predict and plan, and that's the normal way that we live our lives. However, the problem is that increasingly we live in a world which is surprising, which is unpredictable, which is uncertain, which is ambiguous. Ambiguity means that we don't really quite understand what's going on. It could be this, it could be that. So those are the conditions of the world that we live in, and it's not just our work world, it's every aspect of our life, our social life, our political life. In America, we're in the midst of incredible political and social chaos. And so taking a predict and plan in this sort of world of chaos, uncertainty, and unpredictability doesn't work. But we try to do it anyways, don't we? Would you agree? Yeah, like you do it in your lives, I do it in my life, and we do it in our workplace. And here's what happens in the workplace. When we try to combat the chaos and the complexity of the business and technology world in the workplace, what we do is that something surprising happens. We try to redo the plan based on what happens, which usually means that we add some new structure, we add some new rule, we add some new process to the whole thing to be able to account for this unexpected situation. Is this making sense? You guys see that? So what that does, paradoxically, is it makes the situation more complex, because we've just added a layer of complexity by adding that new structure, that new process, this new set of rules, that new set of expectations. And now we're dealing with more complexity. And what do we do with that more complexity? We try to add more structure. We try to add more rules. We try to add more process, don't we? We try to create more roles. All of that kind of stuff we do in the face of complexity. And that's why organizations are so insanely complicated. Why we have such insanely complicated processes, why we have such insanely complicated reporting structures and rules and all this kind of stuff. A sense and respond approach to dealing with complexity recognizes inherently that things change. It accepts change not as the exception, but as the rule. It understands that things are uncertain, that we can't possibly know what's going to happen a week from now, let alone a month from now or a year from now. And it also recognizes that the world, that things are just ambiguous. It's hard to know what's going on. And that sometimes we need to be able to move ahead regardless of the complexity, regardless of the ambiguity, regardless of the uncertainty. And we need to have a way to be able to do that. And sense and respond is a kind of a philosophical idea that can be captured in lots of different kinds of practices, disciplines, and skills. So that's the idea of sense and respond as an idea. I'll give you an example. The whole basis of project management. Project management is very much a predict and plan kind of paradigm, you know, and project management, there are skills related with project management. You can get certified in project management. You can become very skillful and really good at project management, but the basic fundamental idea of project management is a predict and plan kind of approach, that we predict something, plan for that prediction, and when that prediction doesn't happen, what we do next time is we try to make the project a little bit more well-defined, because obviously what happened is the project wasn't well-defined enough. You know, we weren't able to account for enough variables, so we'll add those variables to our next project. And you do that, 10 or 12 or 20 times, and you can see why our project plans in a waterfall world become so complicated. So that would be an example of predict and plan. An example of a sense and respond is what we do in Scrum. Scrum is very much a predict and plan kind of way of delivering software. In Scrum, we understand that we can't predict the future, and on the basis of that, we create specific structures, roles, and activities to help us be able to sense and respond. So sense and respond is a kind of a philosophy, and there are a number of different ways in which you can enact that philosophy, make that philosophy very practical.